Welcome to Survivor Sunday. I am your host, Dr. Jamila Odom Garnett, and this is our show, Say Yes to Life. Today is Survivor Sunday. Welcome back. Today we also have with us Barbara Ann Wheel. Hi, Barbara Ann.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Today we want to talk to you about your experience with Hurricane Katrina. Mm-hmm. You are truly
blessed.
A survivor. Yes. You're blessed. Tell us about your story.
Well, I went to New Orleans I had an aunt down there. I used to go visiting just for vacation. Mm-hmm. I had an aunt that got sick, so I went down there to help her. I lost her, not during the storm, but I lost her while I was down there.
You went down there to care for her?
Yes, because I'm a CNA by trade. So I went down to help her, but I lost her, not in the storm, but before the storm.
Okay.
And I stayed. And the storm, that everybody didn't think it was going to come, but it came. Mm. And I got caught up in it. What hurt us the most was the government didn't help us quick enough. Because people didn't believe it was coming. Okay. And when it came, it came.
So did they give any type of announcement to say that the storm...
they announced it, but it's almost far gone.
By the time...
Yeah, by the time
they knew the
right.
severity of it, it was coming. Right. It was like almost they were hitting.
The levee had broke. And the National Guards came late, and everybody came late. Everybody was on the roof. I was on the roof for a little while.
On the house that you were living in?
No, they moved us to another place, but then we got everybody to get up high, but they didn't realize how high that water was. So you got washed, drenched with the water one day, next day dry off, and next day, I mean, it was something for
So you were on a roof?
Yes, I was on a roof for 3 days.
3 days. Mm-hmm. 3 long
By
days.
faith. I seen people fall. I seen alligators was down there. You see bodies out the coffin, because down New Orleans, they bury you on the top of the ground. They don't bury you in the ground like we do here. So that water washed a lot of coffins all up and down the streets. It was terrible to see. Everything was contaminated.
So you're sitting on the roof?
Laying. Grip, yes, until the National Guard came. They came and they helped some of us. Some made it, some didn't. Then they moved us to Baton Rouge, up higher. That's where we land up at higher. But I was on the roof for a while.
I want to talk to you about that experience when you were up there on the roof. Were you alone? Were you by
other
yourself?
People, next door neighbors, they was there. Some gave
all on the same
Yes,
roof?
some for 3 of us, and you hold and break, that piece of roof, because down, they don't have basements in New Orleans because of the same reason why they had the flood. They don't have basements because they worry about that levee. So there's no basements there. You can't get in the basement. Everybody is up high. Most of the houses down there are built high.
So did anyone bring you guys food? Were they able to bring you food,
water?
Not
for a long time. Nothing.
Anything. Nothing. So you're just up there on
the
roof?
by faith. Mm-hmm. Yes. And then the National Guards came. They had stuff for us, because we couldn't drink no water. All the houses, thing was closed. We couldn't drink anything for the National Guards came. And they moved us up higher to Baton Rouge. Then we lived in a shelter. Stayed in a shelter till we find replacements.
Okay.
But living in a shelter was terrible because they let people out of jail. You sleep and you land with murderers, rapists, and everybody's there. You don't know who's who because they had to let the people out of jail because of those.
So they had to let the people out of jail, and they mixed the people that were
everybody
in jail in another facility, and everybody was all together.
All together. And you don't know who's who.
Were there any officers, any guards there guarding anyone?
No, it was nobody. Everybody for themselves, more or less.
So at this point in time, the Hurricane Katrina came, and you were on top of a roof for 3 days.
3 days.
With death all around you.
All around me.
And then they moved you to another facility.
Yeah, they moved us to Baton Rouge, up higher where the levee was, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Now, in this place, that was somewhere else?
Yeah.
Okay. In that place, did they give you guys any type of food and water and everything there?
We had food up there. We hadn't food down where I was. When we got there, we had food, and people just went crazy with the food, fighting, and a whole bunch of stuff went down with fighting for food things.
I want to ask you, when you were on the roof and you were holding on for dear life, what was going through your mind? What were you saying? What was your strength? How did you make it through that? When you see everything around you,
I think I made it by faith, because if I wasn't saved, had Jesus Christ in my heart, I don't think I would have made it. Because see, I came for a purpose. I came down there to help someone I loved, and by me losing her, that gave me more extra strength. I couldn't believe He brought me this far to let me down. So that kept me faith. I kept my belief, kept me going and going.
So you said, Lord, I don't believe that you brought me all the way
this
here
far
just to let turn me loose and let me down.
That's right.
So I put all my faith and trust in you.
That's right.
And then that's how you made it through, and you made it through to
a Baton Rouge.
Yeah,
the National Guard came. They came with like a, what you call it, like a little boat, or wooden things.
They came and got you guys off the roof,
everything,
and took you in a boat to this point.
To the up higher. Not on a boat, but they took us after they got us from the water. They took us further on land.
So where streets were, where all this was covered with water, and just devastation.
It was like, like high. Every time I have a problem now going across the Ben Franklin Bridge. Me and my sister was over there not too long ago. I had an anxiety attack.
Right.
With that water, sometimes it just hits me differently, like that. That's why I retired early, because of post-traumatic distress.
Okay. Okay, so tell me, how was your experience after that? Like, how do you deal with it now? How did you? What happened that you left from?
Well, I stayed 2 years afterward.
Okay.
I just stayed 2 years after New Orleans, after the storm.
While they were trying to build everything up,
and they put me in. They put all of us, found housing for us.
Okay.
And then I got back working. I worked in a group home. They built all that back up. But meanwhile, I was staying and living in a trailer. Being I was by myself, they really didn't want me to get a trailer because of they wanted people with more children and everything. But I had to put my grounds down, my foot down, so I could have somewhere to live. They wanted to put me in. I stayed in a hotel for about a month.
Okay.
They put me in a hotel by the airport for a month. Wow. Till they found me housing.
What would you say to someone who has lost everything? Because in this experience, I can imagine that the things that you came there with, you lost. What could you say to them today to encourage them to make them really feel like they can make it? After you lose everything, what do you do?
Well, I found out I lost so many things. I was overseas. I had a lot of things from Germany, Spain, all that stuff I took down because I went down there to live. All that stuff I lost. I never get it back. Even my child's birth certificates, footprints, all this stuff, I'll never get it back. But anybody that lost it, it's material.
Right.
And you always get it back. Main thing is your life, and God gave you my life back. That's all I can say. Because I saw so much stuff. Rape, saw a lot of things. And there's nobody to call the cops on.
Through this experience.
So anybody lost anything, don't worry about it, because you'll get it back in a different kind of way.
That's true.
Different kind of way.
So
but material things used to mean a lot to me. Till that storm.
Till the storm came.
Yes.
And then you realize
I know
all these things are replaceable.
That's right.
Some sentimental things. That's fine too if you lose them. But your life
is the main thing.
So much more important.
Yes.
And we give God praise for you still being here.
Yes.
And you
by
said
faith.
yes to life, who is God.
That's right.
And it was by faith that you're still here.
I saw a lot of things went down, but I thank God every day. When I wake up, I thank Him. I praise Him walking, I praise Him driving, I praise Him talking. I praise Him all the time because I have faith in Him. Because nobody could have got me through but Him.
Because I can imagine you lost friends.
Yes. A lot of friends I lost, but I made it, thank God. And thank you again for having me.
Well, thank you for sharing.
I used to talk about it.
I was about to say,
I can talk about
that's
it.
That's something really hard to be able to talk about, and I'm glad that you're able to talk about it, because by your story and your testimony, you're able to help others.
Someone else, that's right.
I'm a firm believer that the things that we go through, the struggles, the hard times, and disappointments that we go through is really to help somebody else, and also to build our faith.
That's right.
So I know you're a faith machine walking on today.
That's right. I'm a living witness.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We love you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to Say Yes to Life. Today we have with us two of Chislehurst's finest police officers. We have here with us Chief Wendell Smith and Officer Delray Pointer. We thank you for coming to join us on today. I have a few questions that we wanted to ask you. Is that all right for our guests and Say Yes to Life visitors? So your experience on the force, how long have you been a police officer? Experience first.
I've been a police officer for 14 years with the Borough of Chislehurst. Okay, I started out as a patrolman. Then I was assigned to the Detective Bureau. Then I was promoted to sergeant.
Wow.
And then 2011, I was promoted to the chief of police.
Oh, that's awesome. How's your experience been being a chief of police? That's a lot of that's a lot of responsibility.
A lot of responsibility, a lot of stress.
Well, say yes to life. No, we appreciate you and what you do here for us in Chislehurst.
Thank you.
Officer Pointer.
I've been a police officer here for 10 years.
Okay.
Started here in around 2005. I'm a patrolman. Also deal with. I'm also the juvenile officer here, and I also deal with community policing as well.
Okay.
My experience here been great. It's the only police job I had. I love the Borough of Chislehurst. As far as community policing goes, I like to go above and beyond my call of duty as far as doing. I volunteered. I was a DARE officer here for about 3 or 4 years when the school was open.
Okay.
And also.
Oh, the DARE program.
Yeah, the DARE program.
The DARE program deals with drug and alcohol awareness. Right?
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
That's good.
Exactly.
Okay, so in your service of 14 years and 10 years, what have been some of the worst things, like cases that you come across? Like some of the disasters, and like how did you guys handle, I know there was some storms that came through here, there was some domestic violence things that happened. How do you guys deal with things that happen in the town like that? You know, how do you keep your professional focus as well as, you know, feeling for your personal feelings as well? Like, how do you deal with somebody who's going through something like that?
Well, I think first off, it's your training. As for me personally, how do I deal with the different things is my relationship with God.
Okay.
You know, being a Christian and everything, you know, saying He keeps me, you know, sturdy and keep me balanced, because, you know, in this career you see a lot of things, you know, saying you experience a lot of things, and you know, and you want to have a relationship with God, especially when you're in this line of work, you know, because you know, law enforcement, you know, they go through a lot, and you hear, you know, a lot of these guys they can't handle it, so they go with drugs and alcohol, and some of them commit suicide and everything because the pressure from this job is too strong for them to handle.
Oh, the officers go through it as well, right? That's what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the officers.
Wow. So, but your relationship with God. So, I heard you're a minister as well. Is that true?
That is
you're
true.
You're a minister?
That
okay.
is true.
Okay. So,
that is true.
How long have you been a minister?
Oh, gosh. I've been a minister when I was 18 years old.
Okay.
That's when I was ordained as a minister. As a local church at Jacob's Chapel. And then I was there for several years, and then I went to church in Philadelphia Church International, and I'm the assistant pastor there.
Okay, so then you're assistant pastor.
Yes.
Well, that helps. So what would you say, Officer Pointer?
How do I deal with the stress of the job? I would have to say God is definitely a key factor. Outside of that, he did touch a key point. I'll pick it back up with that. Training is essential as far as this job is concerned. And I always like to say, experience is the best teacher. A lot of times we have a lot of fatal accidents here on the pike. You may get to the first one, it may be involving a child or something like that, and you may react, you may react in a way to where it may really tear you up. You may think it's your fault. You know, a lot of things that go through your head when you see situations like that, especially dealing with death.
Right.
You know, a lot of times we think we could have did better. We second guess some things, but through your experience, you definitely get better with it. Also, as a law enforcement officer, it's important that a lot of times we got this macho mentality, like if we're going through some stress, we don't want to reach out to somebody. If we're going through some things, like you said, the suicide rate is very high. You know, I think it's about 600 officers a year commit suicide.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Nationwide. So you know, they got stuff like it's called Cop to Cop. It's like a line you can call, talk to other officers who've been through tragic situations. You know, so that's a way that you can get through it. Also, you got a good connection with maybe your coworkers. You can talk to them. So it's a good amount of ways that you can deal with the stress.
I've heard some officers say that, you know, prayer is a key in their life, in this daily
Absolutely.
life. You know, just
Absolutely.
like I guess any other job, but officers, you can just make a stop like on the highway, like for somebody speeding or something. You don't know what you're walking into, you know.
Exactly.
But I've heard a lot of officers say before that if they leave their house, they make sure they spend time with their family because they don't know what can happen when they go out there. How do you feel about that? Is that something that you guys do as well? You pray a lot?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, this is not the only uniform I wear. I put on the whole armor of God, you know, saying before I go out to the job and everything.
Amen.
You know, because you have to understand that we work in a department where we have like one officer works the shift and everything. So when that officer is responding to a serious call, and he has to handle that call, that scene by himself.
Right.
You know, so it takes a lot of strength and it takes a lot of, you know, saying responsibility and everything for that, and courage for that officer when he's responding to a call and dealing with that call by himself. So with prayer, you need prayer in this job.
Yeah. One of the things that I do know that this month of October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I wanted to know, have you gotten calls about domestic violence? And if you have, what is some things that you can leave with the people on today about that? Like how can they, you know, what can they do if they're in an abusive relationship? What is the right thing? Not, you don't ever know what the right thing is to do, but some people say get help, leave, get help. But how can you really get help, or what can you do when this person is saying they might kill you? And I know domestic violence is not just a woman and a man. It could be a man, you know, on a woman, one woman, man today. You know, all types of things these days. So.
Right. Yeah, it could be young people, you know, saying teenagers and domestic violence, and you know, there's cases where there's been domestic violence among young people, and as far as and a grade and 7 years old. Let me just say that 7 to 12 years old.
Wow.
You know, domestic violence among them. I would say for a person that's going through domestic violence, how to get help and everything. I mean, sometimes it's hard for them because they think that they need that individual to lean on for financial support and everything because of that control that the offender put on them. So I would say for a person that's a victim that's going through domestic violence, there are many resources out there for them that they can get help. Now, as far as our police department, we offer domestic violence person that comes out. And they talk to that individual who's been involved in domestic violence, and they, you know, give them some pointers on and some steps and some counseling and everything that they can help them to get out of that domestic violence abusive relationship.
Officer Pointer, what would you say?
Outside of that, on the prevention side of domestic violence, I think some of the key things are knowing the signs of domestic violence. A lot of times we grow up in you know, situations to where we witness domestic violence, and a lot of times where, you know, they call that normalization, because as we get older, we end up being in the same situation we think is okay. But one thing I want to tell domestic violence is never okay.
Right.
And, some things for females and males to look for: somebody who has anger issues, somebody who's overpossessive, somebody who's very controlling. And in this job, my 10 years, my domestic violence experience, some things that I've seen is it always gets progressive. It may start as shoving you, it may start as pushing you, and it usually gets worse, hitting you, punching you, and it progresses like that.
Right, and also you have to understand, domestic violence happens every 9 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and injuries, let me say it this way: more women are injured by domestic violence than car accidents, slips and falls and stuff like that. So, I mean, domestic violence is very serious and it's very dangerous because, there's a lot of women who die from domestic violence. Mm-hmm. So, one thing I would tell the audience is that listen to your friends, listen to people and everything, because when they're talking to you, they may be trying to tell you that they're going through something, that they're in an abusive relationship. So always listen to that person, because they may be telling you that, hey, listen, I'm going through something. Mm-hmm. They may not come out and say it, mm-hmm. but they may say it between the lines like, look, I need help. Okay. So I would just leave that with the audience. Just listen.
Well, thank you very, very much for coming and sharing with us today. What you've given us was some great tips to go on throughout our journey here in life, what we call life. And thank you so much. I know you guys are very busy, but you thought it not robbery to come here and share with us today. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for the fine job that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
In the borough of Chislehurst.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. Today I have here with me the honor of having my father and my sister with me. We have Apostle Charlie Odom and also Janet Beckwith. She's a praise dancer too, y'all. They both have similar experiences. So I just want to take a moment to talk to you. First of all, thank you for coming here today and sharing your testimony with me. Dad, you want to go first or you want Janet to talk about?
It doesn't matter.
We be a little laid back, my parents. That's okay. All right, Dad, tell us about your story, like what you went through with your heart condition, how you survived.
Well, the reason that the way I survived is my trust and belief in God. I had 8 heart attacks and 1 cataract death and 2 strokes. And,
wow.
Yeah. So. And at one point, my heart was rate was about 15%, but right now it's about 35, and it's been now about I had my first heart attack about 20 some odd years ago, and in that I was working and I got some chest pains and stuff, so I told the boss, and so I left and I drove myself from Westville, New Jersey, all the way to Berlin. So when I got to Berlin, I couldn't make it any further, so I went to the hospital there, and they in turn took me in and checked me out and told me I just had a heart attack, and then they called my wife and let her know that I was down there with the
That's the first heart attack
That was the first heart attack.
And since then you had several heart attacks.
Several heart attacks, yes.
And a stroke,
yes.
And a arrhythmia.
Yes.
So that's a cardiac death, right?
I had the cardiac death. That's when the heart went out of rhythm, and that's when 2006, and then I died. And that's when you and your mother got the word that I was dead. And
that's not funny, but yeah, I do remember that.
Y'all lost it at that time, and but nevertheless, I'm here.
So now you're here with, you're living, you're doing well. Yeah. Your heart is at what % now?
It's about 35% now, and I figured if I could live 7 years since then, I got about another 17, 18 years. So I'm going to be around for a long time.
Right. So what can you say to people that have gone through heart conditions and they really don't want to get a pacemaker or they don't want to live with a defibrillator? What can you tell them how it has helped you?
Well, the first thing I want to tell them is make sure you listen to your doctors. Mm-hmm. Because we look at doctors and we believe in God and we trust in God, but we know He's the ultimate doctor, but He put these people in place to help us. And He said in His word, you see these things, you should do greater things. And in these hospitals and these facilities that you see today, these are the greater things that you see all over the world where they be able to help people. And because I was one that did not believe in listen to the doctors, because I thought I was a doctor and I doctored on myself. I didn't listen to the wife; she was a nurse, until I had my stroke. Because the devil talks to you, And they tell you, the devil used to tell me, he said, boy, if you take your medicine during the day, you couldn't function. You know, you'd be all out of whack. So I was in business, and I had to work my business, and I figured I'd listen to the devil until I had that stroke. And the doctor said, you're going to die if you don't do what I tell you. So I said, devil, you's a liar. And I found out he really was a liar. You know, I was beginning to feel better, you know, instead of that. So, I tell anyone to put their trust in God and listen to your doctor. Take your medication.
So if the doctor says this defibrillator can help you, this pacemaker will help you live longer, it will help you, you know, shock your heart back in rhythm, you think they should go ahead and try to, you know, do all that they can to live here, because you only get one life. Is that what you?
I don't only think I know, because the reason I know, because the fact that I guess about a year later, the wife and I was laying down getting ready to go to bed. We was in the bed and getting ready to go to sleep, and this thing came over me again. The rhythm, heart went out of rhythm, and all of this stuff come on me, and it went off. It went off like a time bomb. And the wife said, "What the world was that?" And I said, "I don't know." And then I said, "I'm having a heart attack again," right? So, but it shocked my heart back in rhythm, and I become all right. But she suffered from the shock for a couple of days.
Right.
So it did save my life that time, and I suggest that each and every one, if they suggest that to you, go ahead and do it. You'll be around here a long time.
Amen. So Janet, you're in the medical field just like mommy. So when the doctors were talking about everything that was going on with Dad, you already knew the terminology, where I would have to come ask you guys, like, what does that mean? Like, what is this? What is that? And then you happen to have your own experience.
Yes, my experience was just a little bit different, because my diagnosis is cardiomyopathy. Okay. Cardio meaning heart, myopathy meaning muscle. So it's my heart muscle. The first thing I can tell you is that you don't feel this. You have symptoms, and you can overlook the symptoms, because if you are a female or a young adult, you overcome it because you think you're just tired. You think you just, you know, and I'm a busybody. I like to work. Mm-hmm. So if I'm working, I'm a little tired. I got 2 young kids. I got a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old. They keep you busy. So if I'm exhausted, it's only because these kids make me exhausted, not because my body.
So at the time, that's what you were thinking.
At the time, I was
just tired from daily activities.
Yes. So I would go see the doctor, and I did. And the doctor said, well, you know, you're African-American. Like, I didn't know that. But you're African-American, and you are susceptible to having high blood pressure. So you need to stop eating from the truck. There's trucks outside the hospital. First of all, I was eating hot sausages and high sodium content food. So they were telling me that this is why you're feeling a little weak. Okay. So I went home that night, and I laid down, and everything got black. I got cold. I woke up, and I just told my husband I just died. He said, yeah, okay, go back to sleep. So when I woke up, I called my mother, and I said, Mom, I think you need to take me to the hospital. Because I do work at a hospital. I want to go back to the hospital. When I got there, they looked at everything else except for the heart. Because why would you look at a young girl at the age of 30 for the heart? So I went, and they said, your pulse ox is good, which is saturation is 100%. There's no reason for you to have this. You are breathing fine. You look fine. You're not sweating. You're not acting. You're not swollen. You're not retaining fluid. You're fine. I'm sitting in the ER, and my physician walked past me and said, you're having a ventricular heat, which means that my heart was actually pushing my chest up and down as it's beating.
Wow.
I told her that's normal. Because that happens. I look at my shirt all the time. Isn't that supposed to happen? And they said no.
So that was happening all this time.
You know, I was doing it for a while, so I figured it was for a while I was supposed to do it. So then she said, no, that's not true. So I had to wait a couple days to get an echo. But what it actually was my heart muscle was 25%, which normally is like maybe 50 to 60%. And that's what my heart was doing. My heart muscle was getting weak from high blood pressure. It wasn't from sodium. It was from weakening of the heart muscle. The blood pressure and my high blood pressure was making my heart pump faster, which was making it like a balloon. And like if you think about it, you fill the water with balloon, and the balloon's all over the place. That's exactly what my heart was doing. Your heart is not supposed to be that. Your heart's a muscle. So I've been through that. Now I'm stating that is 17 years later, instead of it being 25, now I'm 50, 51, which is I'm normal. I've never been normal in my life.
That's your heart?
That's my heart muscle. So that's
okay.
awesome. So I've been through a lot. I do take CoReg, which is CoReg is my life. That's my marriage to CoReg is a pill that built up my heart. I'm still a busy bee. You can look at me and you would never tell that I had a heart condition, and thanks to God. And I listened to my parents, and I listened to God too. But it didn't matter, because when you're a heart patient, you can't see it, so you think that you're denying it.
So what did the doctor tell you? I remember the doctor was saying that, you know, you only had a few months to live, because let me tell you, our family loves seafood. So one day we were all eating seafood, crabs and stuff, and my mother, I remember getting a phone call when my mother, our mother said, come home now. Like, everybody stop what you're doing now. Well, we knew it was serious, because she knows how serious we are about our seafood. So when we got that phone call, what was told to us was, you only had like 3 months. The doctor told you 3 months to live.
Correction. The doctor told you guys I had 3 months. He
Oh.
didn't tell me anything.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that until I was sitting at a banquet, and I knew that I was supposed to die 5 years ago. I'm still alive, but he told you guys that, anticipating that I was going to go. But God had other plans. There is no other plan you can make for God. He's laughing at him right about now, because it's been 17 years.
Right.
So I didn't know that, and have I known that, I probably would have had a chance to write my kids letters and let them know how I felt about them, because at the time one was 2, and like I said, one was 6
Yes,
months
I
old.
remember. Mm-hmm.
So the diagnosis of cardiomyopathy could be anything. It could be from a virus. It could be from high blood pressure. Mine was idiopathic. They're not really sure where it came from. So I'm here to tell you now that if you think that you're tired and you're weak and you don't feel good and you're sweaty, go to the doctor. Don't be afraid to go to the doctor. If you don't have insurance, then go to urgent care, go to the emergency. They will, and ask them. Mm-hmm. They will actually look at it. Now, I can't compete with my father, because I've never had a heart attack, because cardiomyopathy is not a heart attack. It's a weakening of the muscle.
Okay.
It's a little different.
Okay, well, thank you guys for sharing your story with us today. It's an honor to have my family here, my older sister, and my father, our father, here, and we thank you. So we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome. We're so happy to have you here today. Dale, could you please just tell us about yourself? We welcome you here to the Say Yes to Life show. We know that you are a survivor, so we want to hear your story on today. So
Well, thank you for inviting me.
You are welcome.
And I'm really happy to share my story, because hopefully it'll help someone. Back in 1999, I went to my doctor for a routine mammogram and an ultrasound, because I was having some discomfort. So it's important that you listen to your body. And I went to the radiologist, and they did the ultrasound, 1, 2, 3, and they were done. Then they took me into the room for the mammography, and they did a set of pictures, and then they sent me into another room. They said, wait, and then they called me back to do another set. And then they said, wait, and they called me back to do another set. So a red flag goes off in my head.
This is all during the visit, the one visit?
That one visit. And I'm sitting there like, something's not right, because I've had a mammo every year for the past 10 years, and this has never happened. So I'm already getting like anxiety about it, you know. So I said, what's going on? Can you tell me something? Oh, you have to talk to your doctor. We can't tell you anything. I already knew that, but I figured, let me just try anyhow.
Right, because when you're in a doctor's office and you're taking a test or something like that, when you start to feel, you can feel like the energy from coming from different people, like the nurses and the people that help you. So I can understand how you probably feel like, what's going on?
What's going on? Even as a nurse, so you could be anybody in any walk of life, and you're still going to feel that human anxiety when it's something about yourself. So this was a Friday, so I had to wait until Monday to call my doctor, because they weren't available on the weekend. So that Monday I called. She was at the hospital doing rounds that morning. So I had to wait until the evening, and it seemed like I was never going to get to talk to her. So finally I reached her, and I said, I want to know the results of my mammography. I didn't even ask her about the ultrasound, because like, whatever that was, I just rather address my breast first, because that was like foremost in my mind. And she said, well, I need you to come into the office. And I was like, oh, this can't be good, Because I also know as a nurse, they don't tell you over the phone, they make you come into the office. So I'm like, God, give me the strength. Just give me the strength because I'm about to deal with something. I just want to be able to deal with it. But first, let me just remain calm. I don't have an accident getting over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we won't even have to have a discussion if I kill myself, trying to get over there. So I went over there, and she sat me down, and she said, well, you have a lesion on your breast. And she said, you need to have it checked out. I said, is it cancer? And she said, well, I don't know. You have to have it checked out. And I already know that she couldn't tell me that it was cancer or not because you have to have a biopsy. But I was just being a typical regular person, asking all questions, dumb, whatever.
How old were you when this was
At the time, I was 44 years old.
Okay.
And so she said, I can arrange for you to go to the Montclair Women's Center, Breast Center. And because she knew I was comfortable with women doctors because she was a female doctor. And so I called and I made an appointment, and they saw me the same week. And they were very nice there, and they said, you have to have a biopsy so that we can send a pathology, specimen to see where you are, what's going on. So they set me up for a biopsy. They did a needle biopsy, and they sent the specimen to New York, a lab in New York. And I said, how long is it going to take? And they said, oh, maybe about probably 7 to 10 days because with all the paperwork and then getting it back to this state and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. So I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. Couldn't wait till 7 days. I called. Oh, we don't have it yet. 10 days, I called. You know what? There was a blackout in New York. And we're not sure if the specimens were compromised.
So they had to send them out there to get tested out?
That particular lab did. Okay. And I was thinking, why is everything being drawn out?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going nuts here. I'm going crazy here. Everything is like a delay.
I can imagine.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I have nothing to do but wait. I guess God's trying to teach me patience. All right. So in the meantime, I'm not telling anybody anything because I don't want to alarm anyone. So I said, well, let me call the doctor back and find out about my ultrasound. The ultrasound was fine. She said, it just showed that you were very fertile. You have a lot of eggs. I was like, okay, that's a good sign. I'm healthy. 44 with a lot of eggs. Hey, I'm good. So,
well, women are having babies longer now.
That's true, but I wasn't trying to do that.
Right.
But so anyhow, finally the results came back, and I called. They said, come in. So I went into the Montclair Center, and they sat me down, and I had my 9-year-old with me because it was after school, and I didn't want to take it to anybody's house because then I would have to tell them about what was going on. Mm-hmm. And I said to Coriel, her name is Coriel, I said, wait outside in the office. I'll be right out because I didn't want her to hear anything. I'd rather talk to her myself. So we go in there, and they take out the paperwork, and they tell me I have breast cancer. And they said it was a stage 2.
Okay.
And after they said that, I basically didn't hear anything else. It was like Charlie Brown, the cartoon, like you just hear wonk, wonk. I saw their lips moving.
So at that first moment, when the doctor, what did they do? Did they sit you down to talk to you?
Yeah, they had sat me down, but I was sitting down.
Did you just come right out and say it, or was it a long?
No, they got right to the point. Mm-hmm. They told me you have breast cancer, but this is what we can do. But after they said you have breast cancer, I didn't hear anything else. I had to process that, and it didn't get processed for a while. So I was like, okay. So I figured I'm going to call them back anyhow and they're going to probably call me because they know I checked out after that. Mm. So I opened the door to leave, and my daughter fell right on the floor in front of me. She had her ear to the door the whole time listening. And I was like, oh my God. I'm going to have to deal with this right now. Mm-hmm. What can I tell her?
She heard what the doctor said.
She heard everything.
And she was only 9 at the time, right?
She was 9 at the time. So she looked at me and she was screaming at me. She said, why? Why do you have cancer? You eat all those vegetables. You eat healthy. You exercise. You nice. You good to people. Why do you have cancer? And I was thinking to myself, this has to be a real good answer because right now it's a defining moment for this child.
But that's a valid point that, a child would even ask those questions because a lot of adults say, how did I get breast cancer? And I exercise, I eat right, I'm on a strict healthy diet, I don't eat fried foods. But it can happen to anyone. And that's the one thing that we really want to stress to everybody, that it can happen
no
to anyone.
How good you are. It ain't about good. Mm-hmm. It's not about whether you ate healthy or not. Those things absolutely help. But anyhow, when my daughter was still waiting for the answer, I was talking to God in my head. I said, Lord, let the next words that come out of my mouth be the words that she needs to hear because I don't want to give her information that's going to traumatize her. I don't want to make her afraid to live. I don't want her to think that the same thing that's happening to me is going to happen to her. So it was like I was having an out-of-body experience. Like it was like I'm looking at myself speaking, but I'm listening. I'm over there listening. And what came out of my mouth was, well, Coriel, if I didn't eat healthy, if I didn't exercise, if I wasn't like doing all these things and being good and nice to people, maybe my chances of survival wouldn't be as great. I said, I believe that if you do all these things, you have a better chance of survival, because I'm coming from a place of healthiness.
Right.
I'm not sick. I've just been diagnosed, but I am not sick.
Is that something that you said to yourself every day to get through? How long was this stage? Like, how long did you go through this? Was it months, a year?
Well, I went through the whole process of surgery. I had a lumpectomy done within a few weeks' time. And after the lumpectomy, they did chemotherapy.
Okay.
The lumpectomy wasn't a big deal because one breast was smaller than the other, but I was like, at least I got some. You know, and the doctor said, well, it'll fill up with fluid, and before you know it, they'll both look the same. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I don't even care. I am going to be here, so it's out of me.
So how is the chemotherapy process? How was that process? You know, some people get very sick from chemo. Some people lose their hair. Some people, you know, just go through a really hard time with the chemo, although it's supposed to be helping your body heal and cure you. But it also does other things.
It's a poison, but it's a poison. It's like being between a rock and a hard place. You need that in order to kill the cancer, but at that time it also killed the normal cells too. So you got the good tissue being killed right along with the bad tissue. So you can't do anything about that, but now they have different treatments where they can target mostly the cancer cells and leave the other tissue unscathed. So that's like awesome, the progress that they're making. But the chemotherapy, when they started giving me that, they told me that I would go bald. They told me that I would have, they told me so many things. I had to laugh myself. They said the medicine's going to make your fingernails turn black. Your hair's going to all fall out. You're not going to have an eyelash or an eyebrow. You're going to be weak. You're going to feel nauseous.
Were you alone through this process? Like, who went with you?
Well, before I got into all of that, I basically tried to call my family and notify them first because I knew I needed their support system. And I called my family. I started calling on the phone one by one. By the time I got to the third one, hearing myself saying it again and again about how I've been diagnosed with breast cancer, I realized I'm talking about myself here. You know, it didn't even seem like it at first. It was like surreal. I'm making these calls like I'm doing this for somebody else. Hey, I just want to let you know, like, you know, I have breast cancer now, so just pray for me. And by the third call, it was like, I can't do this. What am I, nuts? So I called my sister Cora. She's in the audience, and I asked her to come over, and I told her, and I asked her if she would be my support person because she's real easygoing. She's stable. She knows how to be silent when you're silent and how to speak when you need her to speak. And she was just like the perfect person. And I have a huge family, so that's saying a lot that I chose her.
Right. Let me ask you this, Dale. What can you tell, like what advice can you give to someone that's going through breast cancer? We're about to go to a break in a minute, but I really want to get this in so people can really know. What could you tell somebody's going through breast cancer right now?
Well, if you're going through breast cancer, if you're not saved, you need to get saved. I was saved. And from the age of 8 years old, I had an experience. I was sick from school, laying on the couch, and my mom had this big old Jesus picture over the couch. You know, in the South, how everybody have that picture of Jesus with the thorns across the head. And I was laying on the couch like a typical kid, thinking about something like, I wonder if there is a God. Now, my mom took us to church every Sunday, but I'm like, to myself, because if I let my mom hear this, she would have taken me out of this world. I wonder if there is a God. And I kept wondering that. All of a sudden, that picture fell down off the wall, and it was on a nail. The nail was still in the wall. And the picture was a heavy picture, and it fell down right on the couch where I was laying. But I rolled off the couch real quick like a stunt woman, and I'm looking at that picture, and I'm looking at the kitchen because my mom's about to run out. And she said, what in the world is going on? And I said, I don't know. The picture just fell down. I wasn't about to tell her what I was thinking. But at that point, I kept saying, I know there is a God.
So God was your strength.
So God was my strength. He was my strength before that, but I didn't know it. But I knew it from that point on. And it just got better and better, my relationship with him. So
Thank you for sharing your story with us today. Thank you so
you're
much.
welcome.
And I know that you're going to be an encouragement to those that are going through this. And thank you for sharing your story
Thank
with
you.
us today. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I hope you were encouraged by the awesome testimonies of everyone who was here today. Remember, keep focused, keep your eye on the prize, who is Jesus Christ himself, and say yes to life.